And dozens of LA County Sheriff's deputies have been ordered to show their tattoos and be interviewed about alleged gang ties.
The Jump Out Boys, for example, that's a tattoo of a skull holding a revolver. And for each kill, a bullet and smoke is added to the chamber of the revolver.
Gangs, mafia, organized crime. These are all words associated with unlawfulness. The bad guys are involved in the felonious activities, and the cops try to put them away. Now, for a change, today we're going to try switching it up a bit, and we'll be taking a look at the gangs formed within the Los Angeles Police Department. There have been reports on around 20 gangs that exist within the LAPD. 19 civilians have been murdered, none of whom were Caucasian, and many of them faced mental health issues. That's right, it's some of LA's finest who are involved in criminal and racial activities that can't be condoned. The history of these gangs dates back to the 1970s, but a lot of light was shed on this case after the tragic passing of George Floyd in 2020. The police department refers to these gangs as cliques, as they're usually closed groups, and only members of particular ethnicities and races can become a part of them. But in practice, they're in fact gangs. There are specific requirements a new member should fulfill, like shooting a civilian or mishandling paperwork. They've also got hand signs and tattoos, and are involved in some violent law-breaking activities. In the 20th century, cops were notorious for carrying out drug deals, making false arrests, and incurring police brutality. Some of those activities are still in practice. It's believed that 1 in every 6 cops gets an invitation to join these subgroups, and this ritual has been growing for the last 5 years. Since the early 1990s, the LAPD has paid more than $50 million in fines due to unlawful activities by members of its own department. According to many reports, there are 4 gangs that are still listed as currently active in the files of the police department: the Banditos, Vikings, 3,000 Boys, and Executioners, each being located at a separate precinct. We'll be looking at all of these police gangs closely to find out what they do and how they operate. So, let's jump into it. But before that, I'd like to thank this video's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Something people don't realize is that when they sue for an injury, they're not suing the person who caused the injury. They're suing the insurance company that's sitting on billions of dollars. And that's why I'm happy to introduce Morgan & Morgan. Forget about the hassle of visiting law offices. With Morgan & Morgan, you can submit your claim in just 8 clicks on your phone. And here's the best part. It costs you nothing unless they win your case. So why wait? Protect your rights and get the compensation you deserve. When you hire Morgan & Morgan, it's not just a lawyer. You get an entire team working for you. They've got case investigators, paralegals, and specialists, all focused on getting you the maximum settlement. So remember, if you need a personal injury lawyer, there's only one name to remember: Morgan & Morgan. They've got your back. For more information, go to forthepeople.com or dial #LAW, that's #529 from your cell phone. This gang is based at the Linwood station of the LAPD, which is now dysfunctional, in case you were wondering. It meets the definition of a gang, and its members are sworn deputies of the sheriff. Wow, what a perfect world we live in. The Vikings are among the oldest of the LAPD gangs. Each member has a Viking tattoo along with the number 998, which stands for an officer-involved shooting. You could guess what that means, but in case you didn't, it means the officer has fired the weapon on a civilian. Brutal? I agree. The gang was in its prime in the early 1990s. The lawyers were suing the police department for hurting their clients. Most of these people were of color, and this definitely falls under hate crime. There have been many instances of wrongful shootings that got traced back to the Vikings. In 1998, Paul Tanaka, a deputy in the LAPD as well as a member of the Vikings, faced a wrongful death suit of a young Korean boy. Deputy Mike Osborne said in an interview with The Times that getting an invitation to join the Vikings was considered prestigious, but it meant that you have to keep your mouth shut and follow the code of silence. Osborne and his wife retired from the force after testifying against corrupt officers. The Osbornes, along with their kids, were shot at in their own house in 1996. Yep, what you heard in the movies was correct. Snitches end up in ditches. which might sound inappropriate at the moment, but it's true. Rest in peace to the Osbournes. The East LA Banditos. They are a highly exclusive group that consists of Latino members of the LAPD that are headquartered at the East LA station. The members have a common tattoo on their legs of a skeleton wearing a sombrero, holding a smoking revolver and a sheriff's badge. Pretty specific, huh? After taking a close look, you could tell that the sombrero represents the Latino community. All the tattoos are numbered, so the sequence of the members and seniority could be identified. The gun and the smoke could mean a bunch of stuff. It's an old gang, who knows what they were thinking. It's been alleged that the Banditos don't let women become a part of their group. The gang oversees all the staff meetings and get-togethers, even outside the precinct. The main motive of this gang is to work backward, that is, to act first and find probable cause later. This leads to a ton of criminal activities like false arrests, damage to civilian property, and most commonly, planting evidence. Sometimes, in order to save face, the members of Bandito would plant false evidence that supports their case, which is a highly punishable offense. Oftentimes, the officers are so sure they have their guy, they don't even think about getting evidence, which gives birth to the issue of prejudice, which we still have to live with. Guadalupe Lopez's case. Lopez started out her career in the LAPD in 2003 when she started working at the LA County Jail. She was transferred to the East LA station in 2011, home of the, you guessed it, Banditos. During her probation period, she was asked to pair up with Deputy Christopher Wargo, who was a lapdog of the Banditos. Wargo was seen writing other deputies' reports, which was a requirement to join the gang. Now, in her case, Lopez stated that she was sexually harassed continuously by her male counterparts. She was asked to meet up and be used for sexual favors, or her probation period would last indefinitely. There had been several incidents of Lopez being publicly harassed, and she retaliated by refusing to play their games. It was during this time of her life that she found out about the godfather of East LA, Officer Eric Valdez, whom we'll talk about in a minute. Lopez was told that there were explicit photos of many female LAPD officers that could be used for blackmail. In one particular incident, she was driving towards a location due to a priority call. Wargo reached the location and blocked her patrol car. She tried to get back into the vehicle, but she was blocked, and the Banditos associate screamed at her, telling her to submit herself to Eric Valdez or there'd be problems for her. In another incident, a male officer followed her to the garage and kicked down a garbage can. He began screaming at Lopez immediately afterward to clean up the mess she made. There were countless other incidents of sending her on a call minutes before her shift was over to make her life miserable. All that for not submitting herself and being used as an object. The Compton Executioners. Operating out of the Compton station, the Executioners are one of the biggest subgroups operating in the LAPD. The members are given calf tattoos of a skeleton that's got a military-style headgear, also speculated to be a Nazi symbol. The letters CPT are marked, and the number 28 is written in Roman numerals. The tattoos are given as a sign of membership after the officer shoots a civilian. CPT represents Compton, and 28 symbolizes Compton as the 28th substation of the LASD. No women or African American men are allowed within this closed group. There had been an increasing number of cases of ghost guns at the Compton station. Now, if you don't know what a ghost gun is, it's when an officer shoots a civilian, claiming the civilian was carrying a gun and was endangering the officer's life, but in reality, there was never a gun to begin with. This type of police brutality was exposed by Austreberto Gonzalez, who worked at the Compton station for 5 years. Gonzalez identified Deputy Miguel Vega as a possible suspect. Deputy Vega killed an 18-year-old boy, Andres Guardado, which resulted in civilian protests against him and his partner Chris Hernandez, who were both suspected to be members of the Executioners.